Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, I kind of want to talk about rogues. Let's talk about rogues primarily from PvP for patch 9.1. Hanging out over on any of the rogue communities like the rogue Discord, for example, listening to you guys in my own comments. Since I do main a rogue and I primarily play a rogue, in PvP we have been fantastic so far in Shadowlands, but with some of the changes in 9.1, some players that are rogues are concerned how good is the class and the 3 specs are going to be. What is the viability of them going for the future patch? And in this video, I kind of just want to talk about my thoughts on rogues in 9.1, as quite a lot of players got in their heads that rogues are looking like a class you want to roll out of. So I guess the question is, should you roll out of a rogue? Is the sky falling? Are things really getting that bad going to the next patch, or is it just early freakouts and most likely things are going to be okay? And it looks like Blizzard wants to tune the honor talents, but also there's going to be more changes that we can't even begin to discuss in this video. Some of the in-depth things that all these soul binds are getting, covenants are getting, covenant legendaries that could potentially have some swing, other legendaries that could be added, future updates that haven't even happened that have to do with rogues. So there's so many different factors for us to consider, but the biggest point of soreness for a lot of rogues screaming doom and gloom has been the honor talents. So this video will primarily zero in on the new changes to the PvP talents. Now, I've done a video specifically on rogue honor talents, but in this one I'll still go over exactly what they're getting and some of the advantages, disadvantages, buffs, as well as the nerfs. All 3 specs of rogues are going to be getting dismantled, a way for you to deal with the melee by disarming them, which can be used in order to stop warriors from doing damage, paladins from slamming you down, even though they don't really need a weapon to do that, let's be honest, and also stops other rogues from doing damage, but also preventing certain CC, like using saps. A rogue cannot use sap without a weapon, so it makes it a very interesting way to disarm their playstyle. Then we have tricks of trade damage buff increase through thick as thieves. It is slightly nerfed version compared to what Outlaw were able to run with, but then again, lots of you guys didn't really play Outlaw to really test out this honor talent. This overall is going to be a pretty nice buff every 30 seconds in group-based combat. Hitting on every spec individually, Hemotoxin comes as a new honor talent for Assassination rogues, where Shiv will now reduce the target's healing received by 40% for 9 seconds. If this baby stacks together with Master Poisoner and Wound Poison like it did in the early version of the PTR of 9.1, then this is going to be a big Mortal Strike effect for rogues, a big sharpened blade. Looking at subtlety rogues, we have a couple new honor talents like Thieves Bargain. It's actually a bargain. The cooldown of Shadow Blade's Vanish and Faint is reduced by 33%, but using one of those abilities increases the damage you do by 10% for 6 seconds. So this allows you quite a bit of cooldown reduction on certain abilities in terms of, reducing your damage slightly, but having a 2-minute Shadow Blades or 1.3-minute Vanish and certain Legos that could synergize into it, like the Vanish Legendary that reduces cooldowns of other abilities by 20 seconds every time you use it, that could have a lot of play for your subtlety rogues. Dagger and Dark has been heavily nerfed, with rogues being able to go for the big Shadow Strike one-shot. This one now is halved in damage, which probably will promote less degenerate gameplay where 2 rogues just press 1 button and they win in an arena, which is currently happening. Also, Cold Blood is gone, and there's a couple different talents that got buffed and slight nerf for Shadowy Duel, but Cold Blood is gone. That is 10% damage on an enemy, just kind of removed. And then Outlaw Rogue is a weird spec that not a lot of you guys play, maybe like 8 of you overall, but I actually enjoyed in PvP a ton. Even though somebody tells you, hey, don't even look at Outlaw as a PvP spec, there are players that are playing it at 2800, and I've played to 2800 rated 3v3s before, so people are actually able to play the spec somewhat okay. And they're doing some weird things with Outlaw, with little things like float like a butterfly, I guess sting like a bee. Restless Blades, which is a cooldown reduction aspect, also reduces the cooldown of evasion and feint. So against melee or any kind of melee CC, for example, you'll actually have quite a bit of tankiness. Imagine having your feint on a, I don't know, minute cooldown. That is something you can actually do as Outlaw in 9.1. Enduring Brawler, after it ramps up, that is going to be 20% extra stamina and 20% chance for your Sin Strike to hit a second time, which gives you the proc for pistol shot, which means more common points, which means more finishers, which means a better cooldown reduction. And they got some different things, like kind of a nerf, but more of a change with Soul's King. Instead of just giving you free adrenaline rushes, Cheap Shot will now grant you Slice and Ice for an easier setup opener, and the Kidney Shot will also restore your energy per common point spent. So you can Kidney Shot at literally 0 energy or I guess 25 because you do need the energy for that kidney shot, and you're going to get a full burst of energy from it, which means less downtime, more uptime for the spec. So from the honor talents, it does look like Blizzard is trying to shake things up a bit. In terms of the damage aspect, it looks like they're trying to take some of the damage away from rogues. Instead of having subtlety do all the damage, trying to give a little bit more pressure instead of just raw extra damage for assassination, and more survivability and tankiness of this brawler with some cleave capability, because Blade Flurry also did get buffed for Outlaw. And I think a lot of this damage component that they're trying to offset to is going to be into Thick of Thieves. Inside of 2v2s, 3v3s, I feel like the setup with extra damage to an ally is actually not going to be all that terrible. We do, however, have to talk about the most popular legendary for Outlaw rogues, Assassination rogues, and Subtlety rogues at PvP. Mark of the Master Assassin getting nerfed in PvP, where it's only 2-second duration for 100% crit instead of 4-second duration. But I feel like a lot of rogues forget that this is not our only legendary. Mark of Master Assassin sure is strong. 100% critical strike chance in the opener means you can invest all the rest of your stats into versatility, mastery, haste, whatever it may be. But this isn't our only legendary. In fact, rogues have been playing with other legendaries here and there. Just Mark of the Master Assassin is the easiest one for PvP. If you're Outlaw and you like the big pistol shot build from, I don't know, maybe back in Legion, or if you played it in BFA, then the green skin Wicker's legendary is actually quite nice for that extra pistol shot output. It hits just about a little bit harder than a finisher for you, so it actually adds quite a bit of output. If you're an Assassination rogue and you haven't played with Doomblade, the spec that's going to have even more focused damage with the new Shiv MS effect, Mutilate is going to deal more damage as a bleed to an enemy, and for every bleed, your Envenom is going to hit harder. You're all about that Envenom damage, so it's actually quite a pretty big gain. A subtlety, not a lot of people really talk about some of their Lego potential, but we have Akaris, for example, that can give you Shadow Strikes and Sheep Shots extra damage at 25% effectiveness. Or if you're trying to go for big eviscerate damage, you can always go with Finality to have better dot uptime for your Rupture and bigger eviscerates back to back, as long as you're a little bit more careful about kind of how you set up your Finality eviscerates. But even then, if you do end up using more of a utility legendary, or maybe you're going to look for more defensive legendary, Invigorating Shadow Dust has been something that people have played since beginning of Shadowlands, where Vanish reduces the remaining cooldown of your other abilities by 20 seconds, which could give you opportunities to get a shorter blind or get a shorter kidney. And with some of the things like Outlaw passive cooldown reduction or Subtlety with a bargain, Honor Talent could take advantage of these legendaries. I feel like new Honor Talents is a good thing. It'll freshen up the gameplay a lot for the 3 specs, and one of the things that they're adding to rogues for all 3 of them is more control. Control, no matter the gear, no matter how much damage you do, little or a lot, control for rogues is insane. Putting this together with another class is going to do a ton of damage, and buffing that class forward in group gameplay I think is going to be fantastic for 2v2s as well as 3v3s. Where I feel like rogues are definitely going to see an impact is in RPGs, being able to take on powerful tanks that are trying to hold the flag and be a little bit more aggressive. We have been one of those classes that has had the most amount of damage in the opener, like actual real cheesy damage where 2 rogues in arena can one-shot a player before they can even blink. So of course Blizzard is going to attack those things. I don't think that's still the end of the world though. Subtlety is still a spec with great amount of control and good damage, even without 100% crit, even without Cold Blood. I still think it's a spec that outputs damage. Assassination is going to get more focus on that single target zero in, which could give him some more potential. Probably going to be the go-to spec in arenas. Outlaw, a wildcard spec that not a lot of people play as is getting a lot of new talents and a lot more gameplay changes to be more similar to that of Warriors, with big cleaves, big survivability, which I think again is better than absolutely nothing. We have had a fantastic start at the beginning of Shadowlands, and the only thing that I think that's going to be gone is maybe the one-shot potential for rogues. But then, if you play PvP in general, in previous expansions as well, one-shots isn't everything. A lot of classes are pretty bursty in this expansion, but because you can't one-shot doesn't mean you can't PvP. However, I do understand the concerns of players because quite a lot of us pug. We pug with random players, and sometimes the gameplay, especially at the lower brackets, is really down to just bursting them before they burst you down. But I don't think that's really core to the rogue gameplay. Part of the strengths of rogues is a slow, methodical gameplay with a lot of cross control, setting up a big setup with your partner and then going for the massive setup. But also the one thing that's very important to consider before we start screaming that the sky is falling, 9.1 isn't here yet either. We still have a lot of time to make changes and adjustments. Voice your opinions on how you think things are over on the PTR servers. And I'm serious about it. You really should be a little bit more involved in PTR and make your voice heard. But anyway, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think rogues are completely doomed in patch 9.1, or do you think, like me, that maybe it's too early to worry about it and probably that we're going to be fine? We've had such a good start, I doubt it can go that bad. Thank you guys so much for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you in the next one.